Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, go ahead and check out the Potown store. You can even use the OmniPoke code for an extra 5% discount on your orders. They've got pretty much all you need there, so make sure you check it out. Moving on to today's video, we're going to be looking at the deck that I have constructed from the draft that I did from my cube. For the first ever time I've drafted from my online cube, and the list has come out quite different to what I was initially expecting. You may have seen in the draft, I was oftentimes going down the Sceptile route fairly early on, and then started picking up Delphox along the way. That sort of took over things and became like a very prominent part of my list. I was first of all trying to build around the Sceptile. Let me get the Sceptiles up that I was looking for here. So I was able to draft two of these Nurture and Heal Sceptiles. Great energy acceleration, bit of extra healing in there as well to help out against some of the spreading builds. And I was attempting to build around Powerful Storm. You literally just do 20 times the amount of energy attached to all your Pokemon. So the idea was going to be flood the board of energies, using a bunch of these Sceptiles, and just do decent damage on one energy. The biggest reason why I went away from that was because, first of all, I wanted to play Delphox because it draws me a bunch of cards, but mainly because I was unable to pick up the Groviles, which is quite surprising. There's two of these in the draft, and because I picked 3 of like the 5 Sceptiles, I was pretty certain that one of these would eventually come around to me, but they were picked up by other players. So I didn't feel confident putting the Sceptile in because he's a kind of clunkier Stage 2. If you don't have the Grovyle backing him up, you're kind of reliant on getting, one Stage 2 Sceptile out, then the other one comes out, then you start getting good damage from Powerful Storm. So instead, we're going for more of a sort of big basics route. We've got Delphox in here as the draw engine with Mystical Fire, which is incredible draw power, one of the strongest draw cards in the entire draft. We were able to pick up one of the 2 that are in the cube itself. It does also swing with Blaze Ball. 50 plus 20 for each fire attached to this Pokemon is not bad at all. We do also have Blacksmith in here, as well as Lucamine to try and recover that Blacksmith as well. So it'll get involved in an attacking sense as well if we ever need it to. But having that extra draw power from Mystical Fire is amazing. We also have the other Delphox, which has Mystical Torch, which can also burn the opponent's active each turn. So that's effectively like doing a Kukui each turn, but even better because they can stay burned, and that's even better for us. So really powerful status, giving us a bit more oomph with some of our like more mediocre damaging attacks. This can also swing pretty insanely hard as well with Fire Spin, doing 150. It is for 4 energies, it does cost a lot, but I imagine if we've got our Break evolution into play and we start using things like Blacksmith, you can actually burst this out and take big one-hit KOs. So this is also a powerful Delphox that we'll look for. I think for the majority of the games, I'll look to try and find this one ASAP, and then this one will kind of come in time, because we only have a 2-2-2 line. You can't expect to get both of these out every game. But we do have the Delphox Break, so sort of tilt your heads over. The Flare Witch ability is amazing for us. This is kind of what we are trying to build around. It's weird trying to build around a Stage 3, especially in Cube, because it's not all that consistent that you can get this out. But I'm hoping it can work just because we have a good amount of draw already in the deck with the 2 Noctowls and the Stage 2 Delphox. And we have big basics anyway that are just putting pressure on with our Orangaroos. So the Flare Witch has the ability, once during a turn, you may search your deck for a fire, attach it to one of your Pokemon. That's it. Very, very flexible energy acceleration from the deck, which is insane. So hopefully we can get this online as soon as possible. That's going to be the priority, trying to build up the Delphox line. As soon as this comes into play, we'll start drawing a bunch more cards, get towards this break, get it into play, get a bunch of energy acceleration, and start swinging. You can see that I have every Orangaroo. There's 3 Orangaroos in the entire draft. I was somehow able to pick up all of them, and these are big basics. These are really good. They have 120 base hit points. I also have Giant Cape, and I have a City Gym, which buffs colorless types hit points by 20. So you can really see the colorless fire deck sort of coming into play here. These Orangaroos are going to be absolutely huge and difficult to get through. The Sage's Riddle attack isn't going to be all that strong because it's a 50-50 for them, basically. If it's colorless or fire, I will only ever use this in a complete panic button situation because I think more often than not, the opponent might be able to guess this. So, yeah, that's something to bear in mind. Gentle Slap, though, doing 80 is far from gentle, especially in draft. So this is something we can try and build towards. Again, when you're like burning stuff on top of that, it's really good damage. So I like this Orangaroo. He can just sort of sit in the active, buy us some turns while we're trying to build up the Delphox. That's the whole idea here. I want to have, we've got the 3 Orangaroos, we've got Skarmory, Smeargle, and Manaphy. That's like 6 good starters for us that can kind of just sponge hits we're probably going to go down in the prize race more often than not with this deck, and then we'll try and catch back up with things like the Noctowl Break, some of these Delphox attacks, and Orangaroos. Basically, the reason we'll catch up is because we'll have energy acceleration from like the late game onwards, which is the whole idea here. So the Orangaroo has Gentle Slap. This one, of course, has Profound Knowledge, which can do 60 in Confusion. Already, that's really annoying. Confusion's much more annoying in Cube because there are far less switching effects available, but resource management, as we know, is still absolutely insane. I have some very nice trainer cards and other cards that I might want to recycle, things like Gold Potion, things like Ace Trainer, again, if I am behind, Superior and Super Rod, both cards that I'd like to pick up. Once again, EXP shares for some extra energy acceleration on top of the Delphox Break as well, so that's also another thing to bear in mind. In general, because we play so many one-offs, this attack just gets even more versatile and powerful in the draft, so it's a really nice pickup for me, I think. And then this Orangaroo has Instruct, which can draw us cards, again, if we're in a pinch, but also Psychic is really good damage, really good damage. 60 base plus 20 more times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active. That can sometimes just be taking one-shots, especially if you incorporate the Mystical Torch and stuff that we have in the back, so very good damage potential. All of these Orangaroos are very strong, serve different purposes, and they synergize with the Aspertia and the Giant Cape as well, which is awesome. More colourless stuff, we have the Noctowl Break line in here. I was able to pick up the 2 copies of the Hoo-Hoo, the same 2 copies of the Noctowl. I actually drafted a third one of this exact Noctowl. There are 3 Night Sight Noctowls in the draft, and I was able to pick up all of them. They simply allow me to draw a card a turn, and that's actually really good just to have on a stage 1. It's going to get us going pretty easily. It does have an extra sensory attack that can do 40. If you've got the same amount of cards, you do 80 for 3. Again, it's similar to like Orangaroo damage output, which isn't to be slept on because we can then sort of move into this Noctowl Break as well. So I imagine the Noctowl is mainly going to be in here, supplementing us, getting us more draw throughout the entire game. And then when we're ready, we can try and use some Flare Witches and stuff. Maybe slap an EXP share on one of these Noctowls, something like that, and work our way towards this Noctowl Break, which again, you can tilt your head to the side. It has the Night Scan attack, which does 60. You get to look at your opponent's hand, and you do 30 more for each trainer you find there. So bit of sort of disruption, making the opponent play cards unless they want to get one shot. So either it's doing good damage output, one of the strongest attackers in the draft actually. This is my first pick, this Noctowl, because his damage output is actually very strong, and we were able to pick up enough Noctowls to really make him work, which is awesome. So yeah, this can be a nice sort of swing that people may not expect out of nowhere, especially if other decks are able to accumulate large hand sizes. And just getting that information as well of what your opponent's playing can also be very strong. So even if Night Scan's not getting a one-shot, if it's even just doing like 90 or something like that, for like a kind of worst-case scenario type thing, you still know what your opponent's got working with, and you can sort of play around that from there. So that knowledge is also pretty important. From there, we have a Skarmory with a nice Call for Family attack, really buff hit points. Base 100 is great. Blow through does 30 plus 30 more if there's a stadium. I did draft more than just a Aspertia, but I think that was the only one that had like real synergy with our deck, so decided to just have this mainly as a Call for Family attacker, but it's also got nice fighting resistance, which is actually a pretty big deal. I didn't mention that with the Noctowl, because the Orangaroos are oftentimes going to be in the firing line in those opening turns. Having things like Skarmory and Noctowl will hopefully balance out that fighting weakness that a bunch of our guys have, because Donphan is definitely an archetype that I'm a little bit scared of, especially when Orangaroo is a big player in the deck. We have Smeargle, Portraiting just for more consistency, which is always reasonable, and we also have a Manaphy. Again, Deep Sea Swirl, kind of consistency card, but also this is a free retreat pivot. I was not able to pick up anything like Switch or Floatstone. The only form of movement we have is in the form of Tate and Liza down here. I did also draft AZ and Cassius, but I've ended up cutting them both. I think they're a little bit slow for what we're trying to do, because I am trying to swarm the board of energies as much as possible, so the only real form of healing we have is the Gold Potion. I think, again, like AZ potentially was one that was like on the brink of making it into the deck, but overall I've gone towards just saying, hey, I need to spend most of my supporters trying to search out Pokemon to build up this evolution line ASAP, and Tate and Liza is the only real means of switching, but that means having this pivot is going to be really important. The other thing to note is that we did get Ninetales. We were able to get Nine Temptations. Everyone knows what this card is and how good it is in Standard, but let me tell you, this is going to be a slayer in Draft. I think we have probably the best access to Gust in the entire draft. Other than this, there's like one Guzma, one Lysander. Maybe someone got lucky and picked up one with like a Versus Seeker or something. We got the Lusamine, so no one else can like reuse that supporter unless they have other means of doing so. And that just means people are going to have like one Gust or sometimes a Gust if they're doing the coin flip catcher or the coin flip reversal. So there's also a Bright Look Ninetales. So there are a few things out there that can Gust us, but the bottom line is we're doing it more than anyone else. So that's really, really awesome. I think that's going to be something that's going to be important for us because a lot of our base output is around the 60 to 80 mark, which means oftentimes we're going to be looking at knocking out like basics and stage 1s that the opponent's building up on the back and letting them sort of swing into our Orangaroos one after another while we power up other things with Flare Witch the entire time. So the idea is that Ninetales is going to get us that value so we can either close out games really easily once we do sort of get ahead in tempo, or just Grinch things early if we get the high roll situation, which is always really good. We do have, again, Super Rod, we have Superior Energy Retrieval, we have Steven, and I'm playing a raw 12 energy, so I'm hoping I can supplement this Ninetales just about enough to get a few important Gusts in throughout the entire tournament. So yeah, that's going to be so much better in mind. Trainers, I didn't pick up that many looking at it now. I got a bunch more supporters than I did trainers, but we got some pretty nice ones. Ultra Ball, Com, these are obviously great ones to pick up. Gold Potion as our ace spec. I did have a few other options out there for ace specs. We did pass up on Dowsing Machine pretty early on, and I also passed up on Scramble Switch when I'd already picked the Gold Potion. I also passed up on Master Ball as well, so I got a good sight of a lot of these ace specs. Overall, though, I really do value Great Potion. I think when we have tanky basics like Orangaroo and even like Noctowl Break being tanky, 130 hit points plus Stadium sometimes makes it even bigger. The Delphox having 180 as a base is insane, so being able to Gold Potion that and milk the value from it from like an extra turn is like huge for a tempo side, so I really do like drafting Gold Potion. I think it's a very strong card. We got some recovery in Revive and Super Rod. I think that should be plenty. It means we can always like revive back the resource management and then get the other stuff back in if we really need to. And that Superior is obviously very good synergy for the Nine Temptations and whatnot. Making sure we have enough energy to attach throughout the game as well. Always a pretty big deal. Also, of course, this discards cards from your hand, so it can sometimes lower the hand for Mystical Fire, which is pretty nice. But yeah, we got a lot of supporters. We really did get a good grasp of them. In terms of like Pokemon search, we got a Bridget and an Elm. Both are going to be very strong for us. Bridget probably the stronger of the two, just because we'll oftentimes look for like Orangaroos and Skarmory to attach too early. But both definitely pretty good. We were able to pick up an Elm for like grabbing an evolution straight out the gate. We got a Trevor, which is just a versatile version of Elm, basically. And we got a Winona, which is huge for our deck. Like, I think the strongest Winona's going to be in anyone's draft, because this gets us our big basics, this gets us into Instruct for drawing cards, this gets us into Portrait for drawing cards, and it gets towards our entire Noctowl line. So I think Winona's good like in any stage of the game for us to see, which is really awesome. From there, we got just like kind of generic draw from like TV Reporter. We got draw from Kukui. More damage modification is always great. We got Misties, which is kind of like tutoring, which is pretty nice. Also having that discard synergy so that we can draw more from Mystical Fire throughout the game is really nice. We've got Mallow synergy for both Night Sight and Mystical Fire, so insane synergy, which I'm hoping we can really cash in on. That's another reason why I like having the kind of thick Noctowl in here, or as like a pseudo backup attacker, really, is because we can try and get use out of Mallow like really quickly and get into evolutions. So that Mallow is going to be pretty clutch, I'm hoping. We've got hands of both of them. Same for Misties. You can see I have patterns in terms of cards that I like to draft, and I was able to pick up both copies of both of these. Bear in mind, my cube is not a singleton. There are only a few exceptions, but yeah, not complete singleton. We've got Disruption from Ace Trainer, which I'm hoping can really help us out, especially if I can reuse it with Lusamine. Blacksmith as well might be a target that I'll try and Lusamine here and there. If we can attack with our Delphox, which is pretty hench, is going to be pretty awesome. We've got Gladion, a great card when we have really important one-ofs, the Ninetales, the Delphox, the Break. Very, very important one-offs to be able to scout out of the prizes. Janine, kind of generic draw. Lady, more synergy with Nine Temptations. What else have we got here? We've got Steven, just a reasonable card overall. Tantalizer, some nice shuffle effect. So yeah, that's what we're working with. We got the EXP share. It means that I can quite happily just sit there doing call for family attacks, doing deep sea swirls, doing things like Sage's Riddle or resource management in those early turns, knowing that I won't like lose tempo on attachments, which is always pretty good for me. And the Giant Cape isn't like the strongest tool, but I think it just synergizes with the list well enough to be worth it right now. So yeah, we'll try and get use out of that card. And then 12 fire, I believe, with the synergy cards that we have, the Steven, the Lady, the Retrieval, and the Super Rod to recycle as well. I think that should be plenty for us to see cards every turn. I want to get manual attachments literally every turn with this deck. As important as it is for us to find these Pokemon to evolve up into, we also need to attach every single turn, because our energy acceleration becomes, you know, it's like turn 4 at best that we get this Delphox breakout. That's if we've got Fennekin on 1, Braxton on 2, Delphox, and then the Delphox break. So this acceleration is coming late in the day. That was one reason why I was kind of still thinking about building Sceptile, was because this Delphox is really kind of like supplementary acceleration, and our attackers aren't all that speedy. So I am a little concerned that we're going to be one of the slower decks in the field. I imagine we're going to be making comebacks rather than putting pressure on people. There are some powerful stage 1s out there, like Yanmega, Donphan, Golduck is even a fast stage 1. Those are all things that I'm a little bit afraid of, but a few things that make me pretty content is that during the draft, it looked like Electric wasn't picked up all that much, so that's one of the like big accelerators that I'm kind of concerned about. Also, Hydreigon is like a stage 2, so although he's a little bit faster than our Delphox, it's still, you know, stage 2 acceleration, Dragonite stage 2 acceleration, so it feels like we're not that far away from most of the players. The only thing that we're kind of lacking is like 1 and 2 energy attackers. That's the thing that I'm kind of concerned about. But maybe if we're able to get into the blacksmiths early, that can kind of be masked, and we can conceal that issue just by having like blaze ball pressure on people when we need to. So we can have boards of no energy in play and still burst out a decent amount of damage. So that's the hope. So yeah, I think the draft has gone pretty well. I don't think I'll go EXO with this. I think we're a little bit too slow. But I think I'll be one of the more consistent ones out in the field, and I think that's always a really important aspect of the draft. I think we've got some good burst potential with the Blacksmith, with the Gold Potion for some big comeback plays. So I'm hoping that we can try and ace trainer people into Oblivion. That's kind of a big deal in our strategy. That's one of the main hopes that we have. We let them get a few tempo prizes. We can resource back the important things in our deck, and then we're going to try and slap the ace trainer, try and tempo out on them, and see how that goes. So yeah. It was a really fun draft, and I'm also going to be going over my cube in more detail in another video. I know a few people are interested in seeing the link and stuff like that. I need to make a few tweaks to it, and then I'll make it public, and I'll discuss the cube in more detail, just so you kind of have a feel of what I was trying to go for with the cube, and kind of what I feel is powerful and what's worth building towards. I'll try and make a full video on that rather than just linking it in this one, because I think a lot of thought went into the draft. It's by no means complete, so the cube is going to be like a work in progress still forever. But yeah, I think it's really awesome that we're able to do this, and I'm going to try and bring you games over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, it's Cologne this week, so I'm going to really try and focus on standard as much as I can. But I may be able to weave in some cube games here and there as well, just on kind of the downtime, and you know, you need a break sometimes from just hardcore Pokemon, so you gotta kick back, relax, and play cube instead, which I'll probably be even more competitive over. But yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know what you think of the list. Did you think this is going to be where we ended up? If you saw the draft, do you think there was any missed opportunities? Do you think I should have still kept with the Sceptile even without the Grovyle? I'll hear it all down below. Let me know what you think. So yeah, I'll see you in another video soon about Cube, and also standard stuff as well to come. Cheers.